I legit need to make a second one of these. The original conversation spawned off something that I was experiencing, and I was extrapolating that experience across the pug world because I'm fairly certain that after as much experience as I have, my experiences are representative of everyone who does pug. Some people debated this. I will be reading those comments at the end of this video, just like in the last one. But what we're going to start with today is something far, far more interesting. And I'm actually kind of embarrassed that we went the route we did in the first video to show you guys this data, because I had no idea you can actually do this on Radar.io. Let's take a look right now. You can look at every run on Radar.io and see how many deaths there are. Like, what were we doing? Why were we messing around with my spreadsheet? This is so much easier. You can sort by any of these things too. So you could actually go back to like old expansions and look at this phenomena as well. The hard part about this conversation is this. I don't understand what this is. I guess it's because they're doing it slightly different times or something like that. It's the same affix set. I mean, especially this one, the same affix set, same dungeon, but it's the same 5 people and they're on here twice. What you also need to understand about this is not every run is going to have a death total. I did get confirmation that there are runs with 0 deaths, so I think there's only one run on the whole spreadsheet of this, but yeah, there is a run with 0 deaths on there. But yeah, like a run like this, you see it doesn't have the death total icon or that entry onto this. So I did not include those. So we did the top 20 that have the death icon. All right. And again, a lot of those are the exact same group over and over again. I have all of them listed. Anything above 10, it gets bolded. I just did this manually, so hopefully I didn't miss any, but you can see there is a lot of keys above 10. We're going to take a look at the average statistics and we're going to compare it to my keys as well for comparison. And then I got a little treat for you. Found out you could also do this on the beta. Oh my God, what are we doing? How are we making these videos? How did nobody tell me this? I did not realize that there was Mythic Plus runs being cataloged on the beta on Radar.io. This is crazy. They actually have a War Within Season 1 thing. I guess everybody knows about this, just me, and everybody probably assumed I knew about it, so nobody told me about this. There are runs on here with 17 deaths. Now, I did the same thing with this, okay? Got only 10 runs this time because going down into 20 takes us below 10 for a lot of these, and I don't really think we should be going below 12 given the difference between 12 and 11, even just with the affixes. It's obviously a totally different key environment, but unfortunately there's just not enough runs. So we just did the top 10 and we averaged that. It's the best you're going to get as of right now, and I think the results are going to be quite shocking. You can just see like a lot of dungeons, dude. There's a lot of keys. These are the best keys in the world, so you can probably learn a lot about this type of statistical analysis. And that's what I'm saying, like if anybody can scrape like the top 100 runs or maybe even top 1,000 runs, I think you could really make a statement about what is and isn't happening here. So here is the comparison. I did a identical thing to the previous entry where I just took the number of keys and the number of deaths and averaged it. Okay. And then I added some fun little column here because these were my stats. All right. All of these are my stats. And now we're comparing a differential between my stats and their stats. No dungeon at the highest level is done with more deaths than my pug lower keys, which shouldn't necessarily be surprising for a few reasons. One, you'd assume those players are better, but most importantly, I think two, we can't have an average of 11.75 or 12 deaths and upgrade this key. It's just not going to be possible. But as you see, the average being 12 in Ruby Life Pools is significant, because when you go to Ruby Life Pools, you see there are multiple dungeons that have more than 12 deaths and were still upgraded. So it begs the question, is the reality here that players are just not dying 16 times regularly enough at that key level because they've mastered it? Or are they too giving up too early? A very interesting conversation. But yeah, as you see, the average death in a 21 or higher, I think there's a lot of 20s in there too, but like pretty much like a 20 or higher, which nobody can debate is not a top key. So good players, 6.1 deaths, mine 8.8. Hopefully this puts to bed the idea that like any type of player out there doesn't die a lot. But let's take a look at what I'm actually most excited to present here. And again, keep in mind the fact that there is a lot of error here and a lot of outliers impacting the average death simply because we only have 10 and the nature of the beta in general, probably a lot of DCs and a lot of issues. But this is again only after last week's changes. Okay, so the whole video started because they changed the timers. Now I don't know for sure that this is perfectly handled by Radar.io. If you look at this run, you see 6 days ago the instance timer here, it says 35 minutes and they were under time by 7 minutes. By the way, that's a really good run. If you look at what Blizzard says, it says says they changed it from 38 to 35, okay? Now I go back to this run, which was 5 weeks ago. It still says instance timer 35. I don't know why that is. I don't know if Radar.io just takes whatever the most recent is and just applies it to all its keys. But one way or the other, we're only looking at runs from this last week, and I'm going to assume that all of this data is accurate. And if it's not, I think it's on Radar.io at this point. So anyway, as you see, one thing is going to stand out immediately here. Here are the averages over 10 keys, and every single dungeon other than Mists is above 5, which is kind of crazy. Stone Vault is almost 12, 11.8 deaths on average across 10 keys. What is surprising to me though is that the timers can still sustain this, because, you know, we made that whole video talking about, oh, the timers are being changed. I don't know if it's because they're too lenient. This is not really statistically significant comparatively to what we have in the other runs. Like if you look at the top runs, again, you have pretty much a better slew on the highest keys done on live WoW during the pre-patch than you do on the beta, right? Like the average is 6.8 on the beta. It's 6.1 on live. So that means that the keys are having less deaths on the live version of the game than they are on the beta. And the beta is the one that we are assuming is tuned like way, way, way harder than the live game, especially in terms of timer. This was the whole crux of the conversation. So now I don't know what to think. Like you guys tell me, man. But yeah, 11, almost 12 deaths from Stonevault, and all 10 of those keys were upgrades. Now, again, you could see the difference in the actual keys. Some of these are pretty wild. We have a lot of 15s all within the last few days of Necrotic Wake, and then all 14s, whereas Stonevault, the highest key is just a 13, so lower than the top 10 in Necrotic Wake. But it does look like, from what we can see right now, the easiest key is definitely going to be Necrotic Wake. You could also make that claim about Mists because of how few deaths there are, but the fact that, you know, there's only a couple 14s and then some 12s here, it tells me that the timer's probably just tight in Mists. It's an easier dungeon, and maybe it's kind of like the Algathar of the season. It's a very easy dungeon to survive, but it's also a tight timer. But yeah, please leave your comments down below on that. Please, please, please. I want to hear what you guys think. Do you think this is conclusive? What are your thoughts on this? What do you glean from this? What do you think is going on here? Do you think that Mythic Plus is maybe not going to be anywhere near as hard as we thought it was? Don't forget, also with those changes last week, they finally raised the testing item level to a much more appropriate one. I think it's now within a few item level of the actual maximum that you'll be able to achieve. So pretty much where everybody will finish the season at. Yeah, I mean, it's still kind of scary, right? If there's this many deaths and we're still talking about keys that are under 12 as like the top 10 keys. But, you know, again, it's just on the beta. Not a lot of people are doing it, I'm sure. But yeah, like look, Grimbatol literally doesn't have an entry that is above a 12. There's not been an upgraded 12 Grimbatol. So yeah, this is going to be a hard season, I think, one way or the other, but it's surprisingly different than I expected. That's all I'll say. But the last video was a response to this comment. We looked at this pretty substantially on the last video. Now there's no debate about it, right? Like I've shown every fact out there. It's all on Radar.io. You can prove this. It's very, very easy. And unfortunately, I think it's all stemmed from a very silly misunderstanding that we had a prediction based on. And I think the guy who predicted it is probably already smiling. He knows exactly what the problem is. Now, there was another comment. We'll come back to this. This was on the actual video, the last video. We'll come back to this topic, but this was another big part of the conversation. Okay, so last time we left us off here. This is where the last video was made, and then there was more comments made afterwards by this guy. Okay, so if you didn't see the last video, you'll have to catch up on that because I'm not going to go through all these comments again, but we basically left off with this guy saying that because he's such a good healer, that he doesn't have a lot of deaths in his groups, seemingly, and then he admits to not being that big of a Mythic Plus player, which to me is like, I mean, to say this when you're arguing this is just the death of your argument, but you know, that guy's going to quibble with that, so let's hear his response on that. Now, I replied twice here because I first read this and I was just like, I'm done with this, dude, you're done. And then I reread it like an hour later and I was like, wait, hold the hell on. Did he actually admit this? So he replies twice as well. He says, oh, wow, a spreadsheet. Just because you have data doesn't inherently make it useful or important. Then the second response is, part of it is due to the healer. I'll be fine. I get to whatever level gets me into the weekly cap for best gear with ease and chill. Okay, so if you want to quibble that I'm calling you a casual for this, but this is a casual approach to Mythic Plus, one way or the other. Like whether or not you're doing it on purpose and whether or not you could be better at the system is not functional here. Like we're not talking about that. We're talking about what you actually do and your experience level. So then I alert him to the fact that I made the video. He basically commented this while I was recording the video. Then I uploaded the video, got it ready, and then I refreshed the comment section and he had replied. So now I'm replying to the fact that, you know, basically telling him I made the video and that hopefully now it's going to open his eyes, right? That's what you'd hope. There's a bunch of comments from people who watched the video. I'm not really going to read these comments, to be honest, but they were met with more combative nature from this guy. No real surprise. Now here we have the real reply. So obviously I said this. I have no idea what the fuck this is. I tried looking this up. He replies with face palms. That's a really mature response. He says, you do. I'm saying like, what, I'm lying? Is that what he's suggesting here? But in the off chance that you live under a rock and you're not on the internet 24/7 dealing with meme culture, it's someone who you can milk for stupid comments / situations most of the time when they don't know they are being one. Okay, so like the Paradox XD7. Anyway, he then says, I've never understood why people can make such sweeping statements when there's such an abundance of information on my channel. If you're going to get in an argument with somebody and you believe that you have some validity that they don't, and you have not done your research on this topic, you just look like an idiot. So his response to that was, it's not up to us to watch your entire channel just to see if what you're saying makes any sense when referencing a video 16 videos back. I have no idea what you're talking about with this, bro. I'm talking about what I do here, my actual identity on the YouTube space. If you watched it at all, you would know that what you're saying is incorrect. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to watch 500,000 hours of my content to know that. You can literally just open the spreadsheet. That's what I said from the start. All that ever needed to be done was the most basic version of understanding what's going on here. If you go debate a guy who has just say 10,000, the mastery hours of research into a topic, and you know nothing about it, and you literally self-admit that you are not a competitive Mythic Plus player, yeah, you lost. Like, I mean, there's nothing to talk about. This is how it works. And so this is the funny part here. This is where it gets really weird. I said he must be referencing the 15 death bit. I was, hence why I quoted it. And you misquoted me, bro. Do you understand that? I showed the clip in the previous video. You misquoted it. That's why I was confused. Do you understand the difference here? If you can't quote somebody word for word, then don't fucking put it in quotes. Do you know how normal people quote things in a video? They put a timestamp. They put the exact time that the statement that got said that they're reacting to gets said. And that is usually for the benefit of the others who are now going to read their comment and hopefully agree with them. 3 minutes and 33 seconds. Actually, bro, what you said there is wrong. They put that timestamp so when the other people come in and hopefully agree with them, they click it and be like, oh my God, he's totally right. What a great hero of logic this man is. This is another really weird one. He says 15 deaths is normal and anyone who watches this channel knows this. That's my quote. His reply is just casually throwing in that all his viewers must be shitters. Noted. Not the dub you think that was. It's not even close to what I said, bro. He's thinking that I'm saying that like everybody who watches this channel also has the exact same experience as me. No, I'm saying that if you watch my experience at all, you would know that having 10 plus deaths to 15 deaths is normal for keys. You would know this if you watched any content on here. Not that you also are experiencing this. Dude, a lot of viewers don't even play the game, just like you. A lot of viewers who watch this channel don't even play the game. We'll come back to that. Okay, then he does this weird strike through quote for some reason. None of this section has anything to do with what I was talking about. Correct. I didn't just make the video for you, by the way. So now he's like doing this weird, I don't even know how to describe this. He's basically saying something, then I replied to something, and then he says, maybe reflect a little bit instead of mouthing off just because you don't like someone criticizing you. But it's not valid critique, right? That's what I'm saying. So I've already reflected on it. That's why I made the video. So then he says, no, the conversation would not have gone differently. Well, you're right. I'm wrong about this. And now I see why I'm wrong about this, because you're not even paying attention to the argument you're having. But his version of it is that you aren't listening to what I'm saying, and you're just saying the spreadsheet. Yeah. You know why I'm saying that? Because it's got the fucking proof that you are wrong. I mean, what are you talking about? He says, I don't care what's on the spreadsheet. I thought I made that crystal clear. You can't not care about it. But now here's his point, which it took him fucking 2 weeks to finally make. He says, it involves you. It involves you and your skill level. If you are not good, then the numbers are worthless. One major flaw in your thinking, and with these others stands in the comment. Gotta insult the other people who agree with me, right? That's the only way you could win an argument. They don't understand that you could be a big part of the problem as to why you had those deaths. So here we go. This is over now, right? As you see, you are wrong. These are the best players in the world. Can you argue that? Are you still going to try to argue that somebody who's done a 23 and has more than the deaths you're saying are normal is a bad player? Is that what your argument is? And again, this argument is one that is based on something that is actually just a ridiculous misunderstanding. It's like, oh, okay, you know the slash facepalm thing? I'm going to slash facepalm IRL. Next up, he says, I didn't do a keyword. This is me quoting. I have no idea. I still have no idea what he's talking about. Whatever you're talking about, just go ahead and link it. If you want to reply to me again, message me on Discord with it. It's probably not going to work in YouTube comment section to link this. I have no idea what he's referring to here, okay? But I think I have a feeling. So let's read his comment. He says, except one of the only vids I watched, and you have a low geared mage saying, yeah, he's going to die to every mechanic because he's low geared. All I can assume he's talking about, one way or the other, he's referring to a video submitted by somebody else and me commenting on it. Somebody said that in the comments of this last video, that he is another one of these people who does not understand somehow that I am not the person playing in the game. Like, it's really weird how people do this. And honestly, the last time it happened, I would say like, that's the dumbest thing you could ever do. Then this guy like one-ups it somehow by doing this too. But like, if you watch me review content and you think it's me, like, can you not tell by the fucking context clues of the video? I don't know. I have no idea how anybody could think that. If you literally have only seen one video of any gameplay, because I make a lot of videos like this where there is no gameplay at all and it's just talking. If you've only seen those and then you've seen one gameplay video and it's a video of me reviewing somebody else's keys, then I mean, that's gotta be how we got to this point. But one way or the other, it's very obvious that it is not me playing in that video. If you watch 2 videos, that's all you gotta do is watch 2 videos on the channel instead of 1, and you will see that me reviewing somebody else's footage, oh, the UI has changed. It's a completely different format. The video's in different quality. It's a different resolution. I wonder if it's the same video. Is he playing and he's changing his monitor's resolution? Is that what's happening? It's clear that they are not me playing. Somehow we keep doing this. Those people who thought I was cop for the whole video, I mean, it just boggles my mind, because I'm literally describing something that I'm reacting to something. It's clear that I did not live it, right? Like, the way I'm describing it makes it very obvious that I did not live it, that it is not me who did it. Now, here we go. All right, this is it. This is the big reveal. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. I said this: you must think you're one of the best players doing 19s and 20s. And he misquoted me again, misunderstood what I was saying. And this is the fundamental issue with all of this. And it's all because of this. So let's read it. Then we'll give credit where credit is due, okay? He says, I already stated I get to 21s and 22s to get easy groups for my weekly vault 20s. And that's me. You had to make shit up to try and have a point again. And this is why you do fucking research, bro. Because when you do this and say this, you make an utter fool of yourself and you make yourself look like you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. You couldn't have done a worse job with this, okay? So credit where credit is due. If you cannot tell what has happened, I believe that guy has not played since season 3 and is not aware of the changes from season 4. He's right. 100% right. This is how all of this happened. This is why I cannot get on the same page as this guy, because this guy has no fucking idea what's happened in the last 5 months of this video game. Yet he's still commenting on something that I'm referring to happened in the last 5 months of this video game. Why would you do this? Can you explain to me why, if you do not actually play the video game, that you would comment on this with this ferocity? This is insanity at its highest level, and it's just the end of any credible debate, okay? So congrats, bro. You finally helped me understand your point. Your point is you have no idea what you're talking about. You haven't played the game in months. You haven't even followed the game in months. You haven't even watched somebody play the game in months, right? Because like you have these comments that are being made about groups, but you don't even know what a Mythic Plus looks like. You've never seen a Mythic. You watched the video that you said you watched and you still didn't understand that the difficulty of the keys has changed. That's kind of crazy, man. This is kind of crazy that you would go off like this when you know this little about something and you are still debating this with me, bro. This is not a good look. This is not healthy. And this is a big problem because Blizzard may be getting feedback from people like this who seriously, they don't even know the game has changed and they're still giving an opinion on it. Okay, so then let's move on. I suggested to use the stats to make your argument better. He said that only works if your stats are worthwhile. Holy good fuck, I've gone over this. The stats are worthwhile. You don't know what you're talking. I mean, now we can't even really read these. Like now that everybody knows this and everybody's clear on this, it's like it's hard to even care about what he's saying anymore. But again, this is why I made this video, because I did want to clear the air on this. You have the ability to go to Radar.io to do this. You chose not to. I mean, you don't know about that because you don't even know that the keys changed. If you went on Radar.io, you'd be like, lol, why are all these shitters doing weekly vault keys as their highest key? I must be the best player in the game. Like, It would confuse the hell out of this guy, right? He keeps going back to this because like this is basically his last thread of having some type of argument. He says it's normal for me and extremely abnormal for everybody else that I have 15 deaths, which again is not even what I said, but he keeps going back to that number that like having a lot of deaths is abnormal and that this is a me problem, okay? He says, then you keep changing the subject to, but Blizzard say it's fine to time the key with deaths. That's not changing the subject. That is the subject. And this is where, yeah, then you like actually just double down on having no idea what you're talking about. At this point, I think like if I had all of this argument and all of these people saying I was wrong about something, and then, you know, this keeps getting brought up, I would eventually have to be like, let me just check something. You know, how do you not check? How do you not think that something might have changed and my level of understanding might not be valid anymore? I don't understand. Is he calling a 17 and 18 low? His response, yes, holy fuck, yes. And I laughed my ass off at the autism twitch you had reading that. What do you think my reaction is there? When you see somebody respond like this, it's for a reason. Somebody makes a 20-minute video talking about what you're saying and they're reacting this strongly, you might want to double check that what you're saying is accurate. Pro tip for you arguing in the future with other people. So yeah, I obviously, you know, there's been a lot going on in my life. I commented on that in the video. You don't have to reply to everything I say in the video, by the way. It's not all for you. He says, just because your life sucks right now doesn't give you the right to take comments out of context and imply things that weren't said to try and stir up your fan base against someone just for disagreeing with you. And then you deliberately missing the point. And like, I give this guy a pass at this point because like, well, I don't know if I even can give him a pass, but I'm going to try to give him a pass because like he's still arguing under the impression that I'm doing keys that are sub the cap. He didn't bother to fucking actually ever look at the spreadsheet, by the way, because if he ever looked at the spreadsheet besides season 4, he would see the numbers are wildly different. That they're not 14, they're 24, 27, you know, stuff like that. He never looked at it, not once. And that literally, bro, that's all you ever had to do. I guess I'll show it because this is so difficult for you to do. To just look at the data that we have collected. Season 4, Season 3, Season 2, Season 1 of Dragonflight. Here's Shadowlands, BFA. We got it all, bro. All you ever had to do was look at this once and you would have not wasted all your fucking time talking about this nonsense, making a complete fool out of yourself. So I'm sorry. Like, I could see why you're upset. I can see why this dude's upset because he really does think that I'm just like making shit up to have an argument. I hate to say it one more time, man, but if you watched more than a couple hours of anything on this channel, you would know that's not me. Please, please don't do this. Please don't pretend that you know more about me than I do, okay? You saw a trend that you didn't understand and you extrapolated that to my entire personality. And that is the rudest thing you could possibly do because I'm trying to be an agent for change for this game. I'm trying to be a positive influence on this game's community. And to me, it looks like you're basically trying to do the opposite. So there's a bunch of replies to this. I'm not going to go through all of this again as well. I said you should get in a Discord call with me because, you know, I wanted to hear his side of it. If we were able to have that Discord call, this wouldn't have happened. It would have been a totally different conversation. And I have proof of that too. I'm going to show you that in a second. But I kept insisting that he gets in the call, right? And look at how he replies to that. And I think this really speaks to the problem here that this dude actually thinks he's still flawless in his approach to arguing this. That he has, you're saying I should be introspective? I mean, come on, bro. Let's look in the mirror here, okay? You've now been proven to have no idea what you're talking about. And if your next reply is not like, wow, I was totally wrong about this, let's not talk about me being introspective, okay? So anyway, we got another comment. It was basically saying like, oh, you know, your data is corrupted because you're the tank. He says, if you play DPS, basically saying that like, I'm bad at the game, and if I played a role where I could die a lot and not cause other people to die, the keys would have way less average deaths, okay? This continues to go on for a little bit. So we offer this guy what I've been calling the painbow method, all right? It's because I first learned about this from a guy who had similar situations where he was constantly getting in debates with people, and instead of arguing with them and quoting everything they say and then typing a paragraph after it, he would just say, let's get in Discord, let's talk this through, we'll get on the same page, and if we have different opinions, it'll be more like cathartic. It's a better feeling to have this conversation in person either way. That's the way I feel about it too. And it is flawless. It never fails. I've never gotten into a Discord conversation and did not walk out feeling like we're closer to being on the same page, that it has mended this schism. This is what I was offering this Paradox dude, right? I offered it to the guy that we were just showing the comments of. Listen to how this goes down.
Yeah, I don't really know what my point was in those in those YouTube comments.
No worries.
apart from just being spiteful, like, yeah, that's a bad habit of mine on YouTube, so I apologize for that. But you're a very good sport, man. Like,
Thank you.
you're incredibly fast. Like, what's your words per minute on the replies? It's insane.
I
I don't
just
know if you have an AI in the background doing it for you.
no, I just have prioritized it, so I guess I've gotten good at it over the years. All right, well, cool, man. I
Yeah.
really respect you saying that, dude. That means a lot to me because it felt like we just weren't on the same page there, and yeah, it sounds like we weren't. So this is why I like doing these conversations too, because it's very easy to get back on the same page when we're able to just speak naturally without having to wait like 15 minutes in between replies in a text box, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, half the time on YouTube, people just block me instantly, and so the replies like lost forever. So, yeah, respect for not doing that.
Undefeated, the painbow method, undefeated. You could have been in here too, bro, if you're watching this video, man. Hopefully you've gotten the education you needed on this topic. I want to make it clear that like you are influencing discussions one way or the other, whether or not you think you are or you aren't. Blizzard is in the business of listening to these things, and you know, you're not alone. Like I said that in that comment, man, it's a drop in the bucket of the amount of people out there who are giving opinions on things that they simply are not educated on, or especially not experienced on. So if you're trying to build a system that's about progression and competitive avenues, and people out there who are like literally self-admitting that they're not engaged in those competitive avenues are trying to tell people who are offering feedback that they're wrong, it's like, this is really, really bad. Hopefully it's all clear now. All a misunderstanding, and it could have easily been solved, and we probably would have parted ways the exact same way that me and that Australian fellow just did there. Anyway, really shocking about these deaths, the statistic here. Hopefully you guys have some comments on that, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the rant at the end. See you guys soon. I don't know what's going on for the next few days, but you know, the expansion's fast approaching, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.